In the 1800s, in the United States of America, a party known as the No Name Party came into existence. They were nativists, they were very anti-immigrant, and they were very prominent. They played a big role in the American political scene, and then later they vanished. Or did they? Hello everyone, my name is Chimoge. This is Chimoge's Comments America. This is your monthly live stream. Really, this is the one for March, but due to some events in March, I had to reschedule it, so it's taking place now in April of 2023. And today I'm going to react to a video about the aforementioned No Name Party. I learned some basics about them in school. I'm sure many of you did too, but hopefully this video will help me to go in deeper on them. Because I can't say my knowledge is deep, so I'm looking to learn something today, and I hope you guys do too. All right, let's go. Before we begin, though, I quickly want to adjust my screen so I can see myself. Here I am. Okay, I know you guys could see me, but at the beginning of the stream, just because of the way Streamlabs is set up, I can't always see myself. And I do also want to take a moment to quickly share the stream. Can y'all who are watching please like the stream and also share it with people you know as well, so more people can get on here. And then quickly I'll pull up the video and then we can begin. And again, sorry y'all for the delay. This live was originally supposed to be at noon, then I pushed it back to 1:30, but some other stuff happened, so now I'm starting just after 2:40 Eastern Standard Time here. So again, sorry about the delay. You guys know me. The delays happen a lot. Trying my best. The goal is to consistently start right at noon. But I'm not there yet. But I hope y'all stay with me on this journey to be punctual. I know you will be rewarded, I promise, if you stick with me. So again, please continue to watch and support. Let me just share this join out on Twitter. Now let me share it on Facebook. Facebook, the book of faces. Facebook, the book of faces. Facebook. I dreamed a dream. I once dreamed a dream, and it was not how it seemed, but now it is how it seemed. Oh, what a dream that I dreamed. Ooh, ooh, ooh. We're talking about the No Name Party today. We're talking about the No Name Party. What can you say? Well, let me share this to my story. Facebook. What is going on? What is going on, Facebook? Okay. Facebook's like glitchy app, yo. This. Let me share to my story. Is there a limit to how many things I can share on my story at once? Sorry guys, hold up. I'm trying to share something to the Facebook story for my overall media company. The post to the live stream, but it's not allowing me. This is strange. Facebook, man. Zuckerberg, where you at? What's up with your website, dog? Okay, sorry guys. I'll just leave that alone. I don't know what's going on. Wait a minute. Okay, hold up. I think I see a way I can do this. Okay, if I hit add to story, Okay, I didn't get to share it in the perfect way, but the message is up there. Let me retweet from the media company account on Twitter. Just want to make sure as many people as possible know we out here. That's all, folks. That's all. Bear with me now. The video will start very, very soon. Very, very soon. Okay. All the sharing is done, folks. Let me pull up the video and then I'll share my stream. Here. I did put it in the folder. Okay. You can hear the ad. Let's skip that. Hold up, hold up. Not yet. Hold your horses. Let me make my beautiful face a little smaller and then share my screen. Okay, we are good to go. Let's get rid of some of that extra stuff. And all right, so here's the video. The link to it's in the description as always. It's from History Gone Wilder, and it's called America's Forgotten Political Party, the Know Nothings. Let's begin it and see what we can learn. I think I make my volume higher. No, my volume kind of is what it is. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna pause it there. Obviously gave the history of the political parties, but one thing to keep in mind is that political parties always correlate with the tribe somehow, because it's just tribal warfare, right? So it's a question of which tribe or tribes is in each party, right, and what the alliance is, and that sort of thing. So obviously, as you guys watch my channel regularly know, I know a lot about the tribes that make up and run the current Democratic and Republican parties in the U.S. But I'm a little murkier on which tribes was running exactly which party before about the civil rights era. I do know some things, like for example, during the Civil War era and just before, the Republican Party was run by the Puritans, right, and their other Germanic allies, right, just based on the agenda that's pure Puritan. But some of these other parties, like the Whigs, the original Democrats, I guess the original Democrats during that Civil War era, seems like it would have been like the planter class, which I think are really just of mixed Germanic and Celtic ancestry. Because for those of you who don't know, I don't know if I've mentioned it yet on this channel. Maybe I had on Chimoge's comments, but from doing even more research, I just realized that even broader than just a conflict between Puritans and like Scots Irish, and some other tribes, it's basically right versus left is basically Celtic versus Germanic, right? So liberals and their allies are basically Germanic people, and then conservatives really are Celtic. That's what it is. Really, all over the world, this right versus left is just Celtic versus Germanic. But I just say all that to say I'm interested to try and figure out exactly which tribe or tribes was behind the Know Nothing Party and some of these other parties that it was in conflict with, like the Whigs. So let's watch some more. Lord. I mean, do take care of your mental health, guys. Although I recommend You know, I think sorry, I realize YouTube's terms of service might limit what I can say, but don't be afraid to look at what non-Westerners have to say about mental health. Let me just say that. All right, hold up. Sorry about that. That's like today. Yep, I was just about to say it. Like you said, Catholic immigrants, that's basically Ireland and Italy is southern Italy. And if you don't know, northern Italy is inhabited by Germanic peoples, right? There's even a stereotype that northern Italians are just like Germans, because, I mean, they really are. They're like literally the same tribe of people. At least the upper class Germans. Lower class Germans, I think, I know are also Celtic because they were conquered by the Germanic people that then created Germany, right? But then in southern Italy, you have Latin people and actually some Celtic people as well as some Greeks who are kind of their own distinct tribe. And then also you have a lot of people with mixed Arab and African ancestry. So long story short, just a lot of different type of white and mixed race white people that Germanic people don't like. So that's why they don't like Catholics for the most part. And you also do have people from other countries that are Catholic, but again, those people, when you look into it, they're really Celtic or some other non-Germanic white tribe, like the Catholic Germans, Catholic French, and of course from the Catholics from the Iberian Peninsula, same thing, Latin, Celtic, that sort of thing. So whenever you hear about anti-Catholic sentiment, just think anti-Celtic, anti-Latin, and anti-other sort of non-Germanic white tribe sentiment. So this is eerie. Okay, I'm gonna stop here to comment, but this is eerie. Like everything he's described in the last few minutes of the video is also happening today, about 160, 170 years later. The only real difference is really the race of the immigrants that people are complaining about. Wow, this is eerie, and this was pre-Civil War as well, and we are, as you guys know who've been watching my channel, in a pre-Civil War period right now in the US. So you have a population that is, so let's do the side-by-side comparison, right? So at this period in the 1850s, you have a group of people who have already been living in the United States of America. Then some new technology, the railroads in this case, gets introduced. It hurts them economically because the small towns they live in are getting bypassed. And on top of that, there's high inflation. People are flocking to cities. Then a lot of the people flocking to cities are immigrants who belong to races. Races or tribes, and again, tribes and races, they're really synonyms. It's just people tend to use them in different contexts, but they're really talking about the same thing. So every tribe is a race, every race is a tribe, etc. So these immigrants belong to tribes and races that are different from those of the Americans who'd already been there, and those Americans then blame these immigrants for their problems and call for an end to immigration as a solution. So that was the 1850s, right? Now, in 2023, you have high inflation, and you have an economic downturn, right? You have a bad economy. You have new technology being introduced that's taking away people's jobs. People are flocking to cities. Small towns are withering, and you have large numbers of immigrants who belong to races that are different from those of the majority of people who are already in America. And those people who are already in America who are suffering then blame these immigrants for their problems and call for an end to immigration as a solution. I mean, it's really scary how similar that is. The only difference is that in the 1850s, those Americans who were blamed all their problems on immigrants and were being displaced, they would have been, primarily, I'm guessing, either of Germanic or some sort of like a Germanic white tribe, or like I guess some like maybe some mixed Celtic Germanic tribes, or like Celtic tribes that had been that had adopted like Germanic culture and kind of had like identity issues. Whereas now all of the people complaining about immigrants are white, right? They'd even be predominantly Celtic, and the immigrants are mostly non-white, right? Whether they be so-called Hispanic, which is really a mix of white, Asian, black, and then also black immigrants. And then of course you do have another thing that this video doesn't mention but is present is that at this time the I guess the black people living in the US who had been in the US for a while, most of them obviously were enslaved, right? But you have a small population that are free. Those free black people were also generally against the immigration because they saw these at the time white immigrants coming in as another group of white people that would come to oppress them, which is true, right? Because that would make them even more of a minority in the U.S. Hurt their position. But at the time, they were not against African immigration, right? If that had happened, there was basically none of that. Although you did have some free people coming from the Caribbean, so you had a very, very minuscule number of black immigrants. Most of the black people coming, unfortunately, were being brought by force, right? Whereas now you do have a large number of non-enslaved, at least officially. We can debate about definitions of slavery. Non-enslaved black people who've been living in America for a long time. And then there is a significant percentage of them who are opposed to immigration. The difference is now you have a significant percentage of those people who are even opposed to other black people immigrating because of, unfortunately, people have been brainwashed, get confused. But it's ironic because even though they're opposed to that, the number of black people immigrating to the U.S. is still pretty small. Sure, it's larger than under, official slavery, right? And you don't have massive numbers of black people being forcefully brought into the U.S. Well, you still have that, right? Human trafficking is unfortunately still a thing. But the number of people, black people who are willingly, and I put willingly in quotes because, if your country has been bombed and stripped of its resources and you're desperate, so you run to where the resources are to get them, is that a free choice? Not totally. But it's more free than if someone, breaks into your house, puts you in chains, and then drags you here. For sure, it's more free than that. But anyway, you have larger numbers of people coming, in a more free fashion, I'll call it, than before, but it's still very small. So that's another way there's parallels, but there's a slight difference there. But anyway, let's keep going. And also, just to be clear, like, not all, maybe not even most, black Americans who have been here in America for generations are like opposed to other black people immigrating here, even immigration in general. But I'm just saying there's a significant percentage that is there's varying differences of opinion. All right. This sounds like modern day debates between libertarianism and I guess what you'd call like just mainstream regular conservatism, right? Where mainstream conservatives would say, for example, all drugs should be banned, whereas a libertarian might say, I don't support people doing drugs, but they should have the freedom to do it. And of course, there's tribal correlations with that. Modern libertarians are more Celtic, whereas modern mainline conservatives, even though I strongly suspect they have a lot of Celtic ancestry, they have some Germanic in there as well. So it's a tribal thing. Definitely, at the very least, different individual tribe within white people. They are, right, the libertarians versus conservatives, because when you read their history, libertarians is more like Scots Irish and other people with a similar history, whereas mainline conservatives, like the people who were the leaders of the slave owning class. They were, some sort of aristocrats back in England before they moved to the U.S. or what became the U.S. So, yeah. Eerie. Lord. Okay. Let's. All right. Let's. I mean, this is eerie. The Democratic Party, even back in the 1850s, was highly favored by immigrants. The Democratic Party now, in 2023, is highly favored by immigrants. That's wow. That's eerie. Um, because one thing I have to do, and obviously I'm gonna publish a lot of the work on this channel, is do research into the history of the Democratic and Republican parties. But this is an interesting starting point because I'd always wondered what the relationship between the modern Democratic Party and the past one was, and I'd kind of assumed that like they're just completely different, but that's a pretty big similarity. Although in some ways it's different because from what you can see here, right? Because again, Scott is the Whig candidate, Pierce is the Democratic candidate. Obviously, one of the few places the Whigs won was Massachusetts. Massachusetts is the homeland in the U.S. basically, home base, I should say. Their homeland is northern Eurasia, really, but their home base is Massachusetts. Today, this would be Democrat because the modern Democratic Party is a Puritan party. But since Massachusetts was one of the few places he won, that suggests that the Whigs were a Puritan party. Similar deal with this is Vermont. Vermont, I mean, Vermont isn't necessarily Puritan, but they align with them. Northeast, right? Because I think in Vermont you have a lot of kind of lower tribes up there. Need to look into the history because they vote Democrat, but a lot of their behavior is kind of lower tribe. It's interesting. And then they got Kentucky and Tennessee, and they lost everywhere else. But this is really interesting. Okay.
76 candidates, 35 of whom won. It had quickly became a heavy hitter on the American political scene. However, there would be another party that would dismantle the Whigs. That would be the Republican Party. The Whigs possessed two groups of people: those who thought immigration was the biggest threat to the United States, and those who thought slavery was the biggest threat. Republicans represented the anti-slavery group. Although Know Nothings had a quick rise, it also had a quick fall. In the 1856 elections, Republicans made deals to help support Know Nothings locally if they voted for Republicans at the presidential level. The presidential candidate for the Republican Party was John C. Fremont, who was a young man not associated with the establishment. The young candidate won an incredible amount of votes for the first time that his party put up a presidential candidate, but the winner would be the Democratic candidate, James Buchanan. Ultimately, sectionalism and the disdain for pro-slavery Southerners would send Northern Democrats and Know Nothings to the Republican Party. Northern Democrats would most likely not have joined their old rivals, the Whigs, but the new Republican Party allowed them to fight back against pro-slavery bullying in the House and the Senate, and allow for the Republican domination of northern states in the 1860 election. The downfall of the Whig Party would ultimately lead to the formation of the Republican Party, drawn on voters and politicians from the Know Nothings and Northern Democrats. Although the Know Nothings have nearly been forgotten by much of the general public, its importance to the coming of the Civil War and the formation of the political system we have today cannot be denied. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.
All right. Wow, that blew my mind way more than I expected it to. That wow. Wow, that's amazing. I'm still processing all of that, to be honest. Wow. I'm still processing all that, to be honest. Because the last thing that video talked about, that I want to comment on before just giving overall thoughts, and sorry, I don't know why my face looks kind of dark. Maybe I should move my light. That's better. Is it? I don't know. I'll deal with that later for the next live. But anyway, first of all, the fact from the video that the Republican Party basically absorbed all the Whig voters in the end. So that basically means that the everyone who was Whig before became Republican later after the Whigs dissolved. Plus Northern Democrats became Republican, right? Because they were anti-slavery. And then that idea related to that the Whigs were made up of two people: people who didn't like slavery, people who didn't like immigration, right? So then the question is, what tribes were those people? And then why did those tribes have those different agendas, those different beliefs about what the main problem in the U.S. was, but then at the same time their agendas aligned enough for them to unite, right? That's a major question I have. And then also with these Northern Democrats, why were the Northern Democrats initially allied with the pro-slavery Southern Democrats and the immigrants, the white immigrants at first, but then later they decided to decouple from them? And it wasn't because primarily they had a problem with the immigrants, it was because primarily they had a problem with the slavery. That's all very interesting. These are some big questions. That I'm gonna meditate on. And I'd like to know what y'all say. I only see ghosts in the chat. I don't see anyone in the chat, but I'd love to know what you guys think who are watching this on replay. Please let me know in the comments what you think about all this. What are your thoughts? What are your answers to some of the main questions I've posed? I guess just to give my overall takeaways and thoughts on the video, to sum up, wow, that was amazing. It really blew my mind. Learned a lot of stuff I just did not know. But I guess the first major takeaway from the video is that history is repeating itself almost exactly in 2023 with some minor differences, right? And then in the US, in terms of high inflation, new technology taking jobs, some poorer Americans who've been here for a while not doing well, people flocking to cities, high levels of immigration from people of races that weren't, that were a minority among people who've been in the US already, if they were here at all. And then those Native Americans who are not doing well, blaming everything on the immigrants, who are also disproportionately flocking to the cities and demanding change. And then also, this is a pre-Civil War period. 1856 was a pre-Civil War period. 2023 is a pre-Civil War period. That's eerie. I also wonder what was even going on astrologically at the time in 1856, and if the same thing, or at least something similar, is going on astrologically now. Because those of you who know about astrology know that the movements of heavenly bodies influence how people act a lot. So that's also something else I'm wondering. But anyway, history repeating itself. That's one big takeaway. The other big takeaway from the video is that the Whig Party dissolved because the masses of the Whig Party didn't like how the Whig elites handled immigration. And then the new Republican Party was formed out of the masses of the Whigs, really basically the entire Whig Party plus Northern Democrats, right? And then let me just plug in my laptop so it doesn't die here. The last legs of the live. Give me a second, guys. All right. So anyway, the second big takeaway is that the Whigs dissolved because the masses of the Whig Party didn't agree with how the leaders of the Whig Party handled immigration. And then the Republican Party was basically formed out of the Whigs plus Northern Democrats. And that the Whigs were made out of two major factions of people. People who thought America's biggest problem was immigration, and people who thought America's biggest problem was immigration, and people who thought America's biggest problem was slavery, right? And the reason the Northern Democrats joined the Whigs is because they were very opposed to slavery, right? And also the Democratic Party was highly favored by immigrants. I mean, this is all insanely interesting. So those are my big takeaways from the video. And my major questions are, one, exactly which tribes made up the Whig Party, and two, exactly which tribes then made up the new, I guess which tribe, no, the real question is which tribes were made up the Northern Democrats, right? Because the Republicans was just Whigs plus Northern Democrats. So we know from a fact, just from looking at the map of that election, the video showed that the Puritans were a big part of the Whig Party. In fact, I'll go ahead and say, I can say for sure they were the leaders of the Whig Party. That's pretty clear, right? So then I guess the question is, who were the masses of the Whig Party? Was it a different faction of the Puritans? Was it, say, like the leaders of the Whigs were like the most elite tribe within the Puritan tribe, and then the masses of the Whigs were other Puritans? Because the Puritans did spread outside of New England, right? Like, for example, you have a lot of Puritans in California, and I think even in that map, because I think California was on that map. Let me pull it up and then see if we can look at that map again. Because wait, we don't need his voice right now. Did a very good job narrating. Just don't need the voice this second. I'm more interested in the sorry, I want to show the map again. Hold up. No. But from looking at the map, California went Democrat. But was it usually a Whig state before? That's a very good question. But yeah, as you can see here, California went Democrat in that election. But I'd love to know if it was usually a Whig state, because I know a lot of Puritans moved out to California, which is why to this day, California and Massachusetts are in lockstep politically, because it's the same people who run the state. It's the same people who run the state, right? But anyway, taking that away again. But anyway, you oh, sorry, I just want to get rid of this line. Alright, whatever, the line will just be there. Oh, no, it's gone. Alright, but anyway, so the question is the identity of the masses of the Whig Party. Was it just a different faction of the Puritans, like the less elite tribe within the Puritans? Because remember, every tribe has tribes within it, alright, until you get down to like literal groups of siblings, right? Every tribe has tribes within it. And if that tribe has adopted a supremacy mindset, the idea that their race is inherently better than other races, then you know one of those tribes is going to be more dominant than the other, and there's going to be some level of conflict between the tribes, right? So were the masses of the Whigs the less elite tribes of the Puritans, or was it some other tribe, right? That's one question. And then also, which question were the Northern Democrats? Which tribe, rather, were the Northern Democrats? Were they immigrants? Because I know now, right, in the North, obviously, you have like a lot of Irish and Italian immigrants that currently vote Democrat, which is now the Puritan Party. So is that them, or is it someone else? Could that be why they weren't opposed to immigration? Because they were themselves immigrants? Because it's even important to note that Buchanan, the guy who won the 1856 presidential candidate as the Democratic candidate, was himself obviously of some immigrant background because the name Buchanan is Irish, right? Although, but they always say Kennedy was the first. No, he was the first Catholic president. But I guess they don't necessarily say the first Irish. Let's keep having to share my screen with you. Let's do a little research. Was Buchanan Irish? He must have been with that name. Or maybe it was Scottish. Maybe the name Buchanan Scottish, but it's some sort of Celtic name. And like Gaelic specifically. Let's President Buchanan, President James Buchanan, James Buchanan Jr. was an American lawyer, diplomat, and politician who served as the 15th president of the United States from 1857 to 1861. Okay, so he was born in Cove Gap, Pennsylvania, died in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. He represented Pennsylvania as is some political position. It said here that was the Secretary of State. And then let's see, he was born in a log cabin in Cove Gap, Pennsylvania. Okay, his parents were both of Ulster Scot descent. Okay. And Ulster Scots, were they Germanics who colonized Scotland? Oh, Ulster Scots is the same as Scots Irish. Okay. So he was Scots Irish, not I guess mainland Irish. But those people are all Celtic. It's just the Scots Irish were Celtic people who've been Germanicized a little bit, but they were still heavily discriminated against. But anyway, that's all very interesting. But yeah, those are my major takeaways and major questions. Again, I'd love to know what y'all have to say about those. What were your major takeaways from the video, and what are the your answers to my questions? What do you think the answers are? Who do you think? Which tribe do you think which tribe do you think or know made up the bulk of the masses of the Whig Party, and then which tribes do you think or know made up the bulk of the Northern Democrats, and then why do you think different tribes within what eventually became the Republican Party had different views as to whether immigration or slavery was America's biggest problem? Love to know your answers to those questions. Please let me know in the comments. But yeah, few quick announcements as usual, and then I'll let y'all go. Again, thank you so much for joining me. Please like the video, and also share it with people you know. If you're watching it live now on YouTube or on replay now on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching it anywhere else on replay, please follow the account. That's a big help, and it'll let you see all my future videos. Please also join my Patreon. There are lots of good perks and benefits on there. If you join at the highest tier, for example, you can get merchandise, so please join the Patreon. Yeah, good way to support me and also get value for yourself. Please also donate. The link to donate is in the description of the video. You can donate using PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, or directly using your card. So please donate. That also helps as well. And if you're watching this on Twitch, because eventually these clips will be up on Twitch in some form, there will be buttons for you to do all this stuff. Buttons for Patreon, buttons to donate. And then also please join my email and phone list. If If you give me your email and your phone number, eventually I'll be giving you updates about Chimoge's Comments America via email and phone. Just an extra way to keep y'all informed and keep y'all in sync with what I'm doing. And again, once this is eventually on Twitch, there will be a button for you to join the email and phone list. So please do that as well. Then also please remember to check out the rest of my media company, OG Banguku, right? So there'll be a link to the account for OG Banguku as well, right? So in that media company, I got another commentary channel, just the general Chimoge's comments. I got my nature channel, Uoma, and I got my art and music channel, Nkworie, all right? So please check out all the other stuff I have going on. Again, my name is Chimoge. This has been your makeup monthly live stream for the month of March 2023. Had to postpone it, but I'm doing it now in April 2023. I do live streams here every month, and then I have other content going up regularly. Like the most recent video I just released yesterday was actually from my new quick comments section. It's my take on the new Clarence Thomas scandal. Please check that out as well. But I have that going up. These live streams happen every month, and the proper live stream for April 2023 will actually be happening next week. So please join me for that and check out my other content. Thank you so much for